Imagine a world, vibrant and interconnected. Mighty empires, their cities gleaming with bronze, their trade routes stretching across seas and deserts. The Mycenaeans in Greece, masters of the Aegean. The Hittites in Anatolia, a superpower rivaling Egypt. Prosperous Canaanite city-states along the Levant. And Egypt itself, ancient and enduring, yet not immune to the tremors that would shake their world to its core. This was the late Bronze Age, a golden era of international diplomacy, flourishing arts, and sophisticated societies. Palaces were filled with intricate frescoes, archives overflowed with cuneiform tablets detailing royal correspondence, treaties, and bustling trade. Chariots, the advanced weaponry of the time, thundered across battlefields. Ships laden with copper, tin, grain, wine, and exotic goods plied the Mediterranean. It seemed a world destined for continued glory. But then, around 1200 BCE, something catastrophic began to unfold. Within a few generations, this glittering world would crumble into dust and shadow. This is the story of the Great Collapse, one of history's most profound and mysterious turning points, a time when entire civilizations vanished and the world plunged into a dark age. What triggered such a widespread and devastating collapse? It wasn't a single blow, but a perfect storm of calamities, a cascade of crises that overwhelmed even the most powerful empires. For decades, perhaps even a century, the signs were there, like cracks spreading across a magnificent vase. Prolonged and severe droughts gripped the eastern Mediterranean. We see it in the pollen records, in the shrunken lake beds, in desperate pleas for grain shipments etched on clay tablets. Famine stalked the land, weakening populations and straining the complex systems of agriculture and distribution that these palace economies relied upon. Imagine the Hittite king writing to Ugarit, a vital port city, begging for grain, a stark indicator of how dire the situation had become. These weren't isolated incidents. The climate shift was widespread, impacting harvest from Greece to Mesopotamia. As resources dwindled and hunger spread, internal unrest began to boil. Peasant revolts, uprisings of the disenfranchised, the very people who supported the lavish lifestyles of the ruling elites, became more frequent. Archaeological layers in many cities show evidence of destruction, not necessarily by foreign invaders, but by internal conflict. The delicate balance of power within these hierarchical societies fractured. Kings and warrior aristocracies, who derived their legitimacy from providing security and prosperity, found themselves unable to cope. Their gods seemed to have abandoned them. Their complex administrative systems, once a strength, became brittle and unable to adapt to rapidly changing conditions. Then came the invaders, the enigmatic sea peoples. Egyptian inscriptions from the reigns of Ramesses II, Merneptah, and Ramesses III paint a terrifying picture. A confederation of maritime warriors, their origins still debated by scholars. Were they from Sardinia, Sicily, Anatolia, the Aegean? They swept across the Mediterranean, leaving a trail of devastation. Cities like Ugarit, a cosmopolitan hub of trade, were burned to the ground, never to be resettled. The Hittite capital, Hattusa, was abandoned and sacked. Cyprus, a crucial source of copper, suffered repeated attacks. Even mighty Egypt, though it ultimately repelled them, was severely weakened by the prolonged struggle. These weren't just raids, they were migrations, entire peoples on the move, driven by the same pressures of famine and instability that plagued the established empires. They sought new lands, new homes, and they were a disruptive force that shattered the existing order. The collapse of trade routes was another critical factor. The Bronze Age world was deeply interconnected. Tin from Afghanistan and copper from Cyprus were essential to make bronze, the metal that defined the era. When these supply chains were disrupted by piracy, warfare, or the collapse of intermediary states, the economic lifeblood of the empires was severed. Without bronze for weapons and tools, armies were less effective and agriculture suffered. The intricate web of commerce that had brought such prosperity unraveled with terrifying speed. Luxury goods ceased to flow, and with them the exchange of ideas and technologies slowed to a trickle. Earthquakes, too, may have played a role. The eastern Mediterranean is a seismically active region. Evidence of earthquake storms, periods of increased seismic activity, has been found in the archaeological record at several key sites, potentially toppling palaces and disrupting infrastructure at critical moments, adding another layer of chaos to an already teetering world. Imagine a city already weakened by famine and internal strife, then suddenly struck by a devastating earthquake. It would be a blow from which recovery might be impossible. The result was a domino effect. As one kingdom fell, it created a power vacuum and further instability, impacting its neighbors. The Hittite Empire disintegrated. Mycenaean Greece saw its palatial centers destroyed, its writing system, Linear B, forgotten. Literacy itself vanished from many regions for centuries. Populations declined dramatically. People abandoned the cities, retreating to smaller, isolated villages, seeking subsistence in a harsher world. The Grand International Club of the late Bronze Age kings was no more. A dark age descended upon much of the Near East and the Aegean. But this period of collapse, as devastating as it was, also sowed the seeds for a new world. The old, rigid palace economies gave way to more decentralized societies. Iron, once a precious metal, began to be more widely used as bronze became scarce, heralding the Iron Age with its new technologies and power dynamics. New peoples rose to prominence. The Phoenicians, who would become master seafarers and traders, carrying a new invention, the alphabet. The Israelites, the Arameans, the Philistines, perhaps descendants of the Sea Peoples themselves, carved out new kingdoms. In Greece, after centuries of darkness, new city-states, the polis, would emerge, laying the foundations for classical civilization. The Bronze Age collapse serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most advanced civilizations. It teaches us that interconnectedness can be both a strength and a vulnerability, and that environmental change, internal strife, and external pressures can combine to bring down even the mightiest empires. The echoes of this ancient cataclysm resonate even today, a testament to a lost world and the enduring human struggle for survival and renewal. What lessons can we draw from their fate? Subscribe.